All right, hello everyone, and welcome to the second in our Film Hub Scotland marketing webinar series. The first session that we ran was a more general marketing 101 session, and we're excited to present a film festival focus today. We're really excited to be joined by Emma Jamieson, who is a woman of many many talents, but primarily works across film and exhibition as a cinema marketing consultant. Has worked with French Film Festival, Cinetopia, IberoDocs, to name but a few. Emma will be taking us through a variety of tips and tricks when it comes to your film festival marketing. So we're really delighted to have her today. Should also say we'll be using Zoom captions, so please enable closed captions by clicking down below if you require those. And we will make a recording of this session available on our website alongside some notes that Emma will talk about throughout. So I think without any further ado, I'll hand over to Emma.
Amazing. Can everyone hear me okay? Yep, thumbs up. I'm going to share my screen, which is always the fear.
I think you just need to unmute yourself, Emma. I don't know why it's done that.
Okay, can you hear me now? Yeah, it doesn't like me opening a presentation. It seems to auto-mute me when I do that. So yeah, just let me know that you can all see the presentation. Anna, can you give me a vocal yes?
Yes, we can see it.
Perfect. Cool. Well, thanks everybody for coming. I'm really happy to be hosting this. We've got an hour. What I'm hoping to do is whiz through this and have some time for questions at the end. If you do have any questions, if you can please put them in the question box at the bottom of your screen. Anna's going to be fielding them at the end, rather than just so I can focus on kind of getting the presentation done. I'm not great at multitasking. And then hopefully there'll be enough time to answer anything you want afterwards. All of these slides will be available to you at the end. There's a few extra ones that I won't present that just have some extra notes in them if you want to digest those later. I've also got my contact details at the end if anyone wants to drop me an email afterwards. So without further ado, I am going to crack on. So who am I? I'm exactly who Anna said I was. I'm Emma, and I've been doing film and cinema marketing for about 3 years, but I have 15 years experience in marketing, working across hospitality, leisure tourism, education, entertainment, and I kind of went into film because that is my life's big passion. I've done numerous festivals here in Edinburgh, but also worked with distributors, exhibitors, and marketing agencies, some of whom are on this slide. I'm just going to sort of give you a brief what we're going to cover so you get an idea what you're going to be getting out of this presentation, hopefully. So I'm going to recap some of the marketing basics. Anna delivered a fantastic webinar, I think last month, which I will be linking to in this presentation because it's worth watching just for a real recap on like marketing 101. I'm going to talk about building a timeline, so really like managing the process of marketing a festival, which can be really overwhelming, and sort of how to prioritize things so you avoid burnout, which is a common thing I think a lot of us have suffered from working in the film industry. How to prioritize your activity, especially if you're working with a small budget or a limited team or a limited amount of time. Content ideas. I get asked this probably more than anything else. You know, what am I talking about? How do I market my film festival? What should I be saying to people? What do I put on social media? What do I put in the newsletter, etc.? Time-saving hacks, how to do less with more. and how to save time, because time is always, always limited when running a festival or any kind of film event. And just understand how to measure whether your marketing efforts are paying off. What should you be measuring? How do you do it? How do you evaluate if your activity is actually paying off? And what can you learn to apply for future events and festivals? So a quick recap on marketing basics. I mean, these are valid for a big festival, a small festival, a one-off event. These are kind of the basic tools of doing any kind of marketing. It's really defining who are you talking to. Be really, really clear on your audience. Know what they want, what their desires are, their interests, what motivates them, what are their barriers to access, and how are you going to overcome those for them and let them know how they can be part of your festival despite those barriers. What is it that your festival is about? What's your reason for being? What are you trying to achieve? What are your goals? And when is the festival? You know, the basic information, which sounds obvious, but sometimes people find that out really, really late. So it's getting that information out there quickly. Having a real clear goal and purpose for your festival. I mean, obviously you want to sell tickets, you want people to come, but the bigger picture, you know, what is it? Are you trying to raise awareness of a specific issue? Are you trying to motivate people to take action? Are you trying to showcase emerging voices, emerging directors, or new types of film? And be really, really clear on that, because that ultimately is the message you want to be communicating again and again and again. And that purpose needs to kind of reflect across all of your activity. Um, Figuring out the right channels for your audience and goals. And really that's the case of understanding who it is, you know, going back to the who is your audience, you know, is social media really important? Maybe it's not. Do you need a website? Maybe you don't. Where are your audience hanging out, online or offline, and how are you going to reach them? And sometimes it might not be the trendy option. It might just be what suits the people you're talking to. I'll cover that a bit more later. Having a clearly defined brand or a visual identity, which doesn't need to be a big complex thing if you're quite limited, but making sure that whatever you're putting out to promote your festival, it has a consistent look, it's recognizable, and that it stands out, because people need to be able to find you in a sea of noise. So it might just be, you know, a really strong logo and some impactful colors. It might be a very distinctive type of imagery that you use. It might be really bold messaging. The point is consistency and making sure that it's clear who you are visually. And then your needs assessment, you know, what are you putting in place with regards to sustainability, accessibility, diversity? How are you communicating that? How are you making sure your audience are aware of the activity that you're taking, and what actions can you take feasibly within the constraints of budget, time, and resource? So making sure you are clear on that. And then budget and time, which are, you know, you could have all the budget and all the time in the world and you'd probably still feel it's not enough. So understand what is essential to delivering your festival. What is the absolute basic that you must have? What's a desirable on top of that? And then what's the dream? And don't prioritize the dream. Start with the essential. So, like I said, if you want to really go into the nitty gritty of all of this in good detail, Anna had delivered a webinar which I'm linking to right here. There's a lot of really valid points in there that cover all aspects of marketing, and it's really useful. So I do recommend watching that if you want to recap on those basics in more depth. So when I talk about different priorities in terms of communication or promoting your festival and understanding your audience, I just wanted to give a couple of examples of different festivals or film events where there was a real difference in how we marketed them and how we reached the audience we needed to reach. So Local Hero was a weekend of outdoor screenings over 3 days up in Banff in Aberdeenshire to celebrate the 40th anniversary of Local Hero. Now you're talking about a very rural community, very small villages. It's not a very um, online community in terms of being ultra sophisticated on social media. You know, everyone's not on TikTok up in Banff. But local community groups and local villages and all the sort of local councils all have really active Facebook groups. You know, the local village would have its own Facebook group. So that was one of our primary channels for reaching people, was joining all those Facebook groups, posting in them every couple of days, and kind of getting into the community that way. It was also local flyering, you know, having flyers in all the community centres, the post office, that going around the villages, making sure people got something physical, because these are the areas where the community congregates. And those were, we also had a massive banner, which sadly I don't have a picture of, but we had a huge printed banner outside our main venue in Banff, which anyone that drove past would see it. Again, small village, one main road, you're kind of guaranteed to get eyeballs on that. So that was really knowing how the audience find out about things and being in those spaces. French Film Festival, it's very different. It's a UK-wide festival, like 42 cinemas across the country over 30 days or something, immense. And that's skewing slightly older as an audience, so not very hot on social media. In fact, we didn't print enough brochures at the beginning because we were trying to be sustainable and we were trying to be all online and super digital. And actually the feedback we got was, no, we don't want to book our tickets through a website, or we don't want to view a program on our phones. We are used to having the brochure and sitting with our cup of tea and circling the films that we want. And people were quite disgruntled. They were very upset not to find the brochure in the places they went looking for them. So we had to print more. And it was being in sort of national publications like Time Out, the print media that people responded to, having posters everywhere. Um, that was a very different approach, and we learned from it, because I think with the best will of trying to be all sustainable, we actually didn't meet people where they were. So we printed more, I'd like to say recycled brochures, but yeah, it pays not to just do the thing that's trendy, you know, by just putting everything online, if actually that's not how your audience wants to interact with you or find out about your festival. So in terms of building a timeline, I mean, ideally you'd have like 6 to 8 weeks to promote a festival. I know that obviously depends on the size of the festival. Sometimes you might have 3 weeks, sometimes you might have a lot more. But working on a generalized assumption that you might have, I hope, at least 6 weeks, or any time really, it's working backwards. You know what you have to deliver, and any sort of timeline for marketing starts by working backwards. And I would say do as much prep as possible in advance, as a marketeer. Like, do all the admin you possibly can. Start building your outreach list, all your local community organizations, all of that really laborious search, creating a spreadsheet or an email list. Build out your social media plan. There's going to be obvious milestones. It doesn't matter what your festival is. There'll be obvious things that you have to announce, talk about, etc. Build as much of the bare bones of a social media plan as you can. Design your assets, whether that's working with a designer or using Canva. Having as many templates up front as you can, so that when you're kind of getting nearer, you can knock things out quite quickly. The ideal is to have so much marketing done, you know, sort of by 3 weeks out, that by the time you announce tickets are on sale, people are already primed and ready to buy a ticket. They've already heard all the detail. They've got an inkling of the program as much as you're able to share. You want all the heavy load as far out as possible. Be aware of deadlines and map those into your plan right from the outset. Like if you know you're going to be printing stuff, call your print shop and find out what's the latest I can send you our brochure design so that you can go to print in time to meet our deadline. Like find that out right from the start. What you don't want is sending something to a printer 1 week out and finding out they can't deliver when you need it because they're backed up. So those sorts of details, you know, how late does a cinema need to receive marketing materials? The more you have that knowledge, the more you can plan in deadlines, the more you can work ahead of them and not feel so stressed. Give yourself a buffer if that's possible. You know, allow a couple of days for things to go wrong because inevitably what can go wrong will go wrong. I always say sometimes this isn't possible, but wherever you can, you know, try and get especially bigger tasks done with a few days to spare. And this, I'm sure everyone's familiar with working with 5,000 Google folders and Google Docs. And it will inevitably happen, but I do find there's often, you're working on a festival and the programmers will have a Google folder with 50 sheets in it, and marketing and social media will have a folder with a spreadsheet for a social media plan, a spreadsheet for marketing activity, a spreadsheet for the budget, etc. And then some people have access to one folder and some people don't have access to another. And then when you need something, you have to ask permission. It becomes an admin nightmare and wastes a lot of time. So think about how you can reduce things onto one spreadsheet or put them in one folder and give everyone on your team access. There's no reason why a programmer can't access a marketing folder. I like to think if you're all working on the same festival team, you all trust each other and none of us are holding nuclear codes. So it just helps if everyone can access everything and you don't have to keep asking for permission to view a document, etc. It's never too early to start marketing your festival, ever. Even if you have no information on the day the festival, get that out there. What are you waiting for? You're not going to bore people by being repetitive, especially not on social media where people don't remember what you posted yesterday. The earlier you start, the more primed people are to start booking when you announce that people can book or sign up or register. And it's fine to drip feed information and not have everything at once. In fact, drip feeding is ideal. You're building up awareness, you're building up familiarity. So I'm not going to open this freebie now because it's part of a one document for marketing, but I've created you a spreadsheet marketing plan that you can take away. You can download it, use it for your own festival, or just get an idea for how I think or how I tend to work. I will show you it at the end when we've talked about the other tabs on it. But that's just a little something you can take away at the end. So I'm not going to talk through this in whopping detail, but just as a snapshot, like I said, imagine if you had 6 weeks to market your festival. This is kind of activity I would plot in and rough timings of what you can do at each stage. And again, depending how long you have, you would then obviously tweak this, but it just gives a vague overview, a general top line overview of how I would manage all the different pieces of activity. And I will leave you to digest that in your own time. So, making the most with your resources. I'm going to go on the assumption that almost everyone I'm speaking to here works with limited resources, because that is the state of things. And the more you can make what you have go further, the better. So, if it's your first festival, this is a bit harder because you won't have historical data necessarily to lean on or to refer to. On the other hand, there is a lot of industry data that you can access. Again, a lot of great resources on Film Hub Scotland website, or BFI, a fan network. There's a lot of places you can go to find out general data, but obviously it's always better if you can access insights and learnings that you have from running a previous event or festival. But do use those insights. I've heard a couple of people recently be like, oh, I can't be bothered looking at all that. It sounds like a faff, and I know what works, etc. And that's great if you do know what works, but often just having enough physical data that you can look at that tells you exactly where to spend your limited budget or what activity actually delivered your goal. If you don't have a lot of time or money, like, focus on doing those things, and everything else can kind of wait until you have the time or space to do them. It really does help to narrow it down to the absolute essentials that help you deliver what you need. Template as much as you can. So, if you're going to be sending out newsletters, can you create a template? Something really simple that you use, so all you have to do is fill out the copy, but you've got the layout all done, the design's all done. We do this for Cinetopia when we do Documentary Film Club. We have an announcement template and we have a tickets now on sale template. And every documentary film screening that we have, we go out with those two. It's literally a case of changing the film title, the date, the blurb, and a picture, but I don't have to design anything from scratch. Same with social media assets. Can you create a template in Canva? So all you have to do is change the film image and the title and push it out. Can you do a save the date template that all you have to do is change the wording to tickets now on sale? Things like that. Outreach emails, write one outreach email, save it in a Google Doc so you can copy paste it to the 400 people you want to email and just tweak their name. Just anything you can do that saves you having to write things or create things from scratch is always great, and you can reuse them next year. Leverage your partners and your ambassadors as much as possible. Get them to do the marketing for you. Some might not, some aren't, as good as others. There's always going to be people that no matter what you send them aren't going to just do it. On the other hand, do make sure that all your partners and ambassadors have assets to go out with, have copy, have blurb, have something that they can talk about that you've given them, so that they can spread the word for you. And use free tools where you can. I genuinely, at this point, we're very lucky in the online world that there are so many free options for literally everything: video editing, design, website, like, there is a free version of everything. Some are better than others, but do use them wherever possible, especially if you're cash strapped. And done is better than perfect. I am a perfectionist, so this is more for me than anything else. When you don't have a lot of time to tell people about your festival or to raise awareness, you can get caught in the trap of, I can't go out with this flyer, there's a typo on one side, or this font size is different than that font size in our brochure, we need to do another edit, and you're another day late. Get it out there, unless there's a glaring error or something that's so fundamental that it's actually going to hamper someone enjoying your festival or being able to come to your festival. If you're really, really limited, it's much better to just get information out there, even if there might be a small typo, or the image isn't the best image you ever saw in your whole life, or your reel isn't, a Ridley Scott quality film. It's much better to just get your content out there, get your marketing out there efficiently so that people actually hear about what you're doing. And this again, this was an experience with the French Film Festival. It's an experience with IberoDocs. It's currently an experience I'm having to launch a film in cinemas, where obviously you're screening films across multiple different venues, and each venue is selling the tickets on your behalf. But you want to be able to direct your audience and your marketing to one single place for ease of communication, for ease of reference. And I'd say wherever possible, build a landing page where you can put all the cinema booking links in one place. You can do this on Canva. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But being able to have one page where you direct all of your traffic and can send your audience will make your life so much easier. The media will be happy because they only have one place to talk about in your event listings or in the press. So that's just a really handy time saver and mental health saver, I'd like to say, in terms of stress reduction. Again, I'm not going to cover this in massive detail, but again, this was me sort of mapping out what is essential to deliver a festival, what is desirable, and what's the dream. But I will let you digest that in your own time. And of course, this is, you would have to tailor that for your specific needs. So time-saving hacks, just to get into a bit more detail. I'm sure you're all familiar with Canva, and if you're not, Canva is a very user-friendly, very easy to use design tool that at this stage does pretty much everything from video editing to website building to graphic design. It's really handy for novices who are not graphic designers like me. There is a free version and a paid version. I highly recommend the paid version. It's $10.99 a month, but the free one is pretty good too. You just get a lot more with the paid version. And the good news is, if you are running a not-for-profit film festival, you can actually access the pro version of Canva for free. So if you are a registered charity, you can, in fact, I realized I didn't put the link on here, but I will do that before I send the slides to Anna. You just put in your charity details and it will give you a year's subscription of Canva Pro for free, which I think is a really useful tool to have. You probably have used Canva already for various different things, but a few things you might not know about are brand kit. So you can see here, this is the brand kit we have for Cinescapes. You can upload your logo, your brand colors, your fonts, your brand guidelines, any photography you have, icons, elements, individual graphics. And it means that whenever you create a template or a new design in Canva, you go to your brand kit and literally press styles, it will turn that template into your brand visually by applying all of these things. So it's sort of a one-click on-brand designs. You may have to tweak a few things here and there, but essentially that saves you a hell of a lot of time in terms of designing stuff that is all consistent visually, remains on brand, and looks good. So you can see some examples here that were some designs we did for Cinescapes for the local Hero Film Festival. It does have millions of templates. You can get royalty-free sounds on there, royalty-free photography. Trying to find royalty-free sounds to use on social media can be a real nightmare when you're dealing with, films, etc. So it's just useful to know that you can access those. You can create a one-page website if you don't have a festival website, or you want a one-page place where you can put all the cinema booking links that you can build using a template very quickly. Canva has pre-built one-page websites. You can use your brand kit to make it look on brand. You just drop in your film links and you can publish it live without having to buy a domain or go through a lot of faff. And that's a really nice, you can then link to that page on your social media, in your newsletter, and you can direct people to where they can find a screening and book a ticket across multiple venues. That's one use I find really handy if you are on a small budget or don't have a lot of time to design a whole new page for this purpose. Canva also has a tool that checks the accessibility of your visual designs. So once you've created an Instagram post, for example, you can then, there is a check accessibility button, and it will tell you all the problem areas. It will tell you how to resolve them. And in some cases, it will say things like, you know, there's not enough contrast between the two colors you've used. Would you like to amend it? You press yes, and it will do it for you. Or it will up the size of your font if it's not legible enough. Or if you just want to do it yourself, it will just flag the areas that don't meet online or visual accessibility standards. It also has a free social media scheduler. Again, a lot of people don't realize this. If you don't want to pay for a scheduling tool for your social media, there is one inbuilt in Canva, so you can design something and then schedule it to go out to your Instagram, your Facebook, your Twitter, all within the Canva app. Again, really handy. I'll just give you a small example. I used it recently to design a marketing pack to send out to partners and cinemas, where they could download everything to promote a film that we're launching. You could do this exact thing with your festival. If you have a lot of partners, you need to send posters, trailers, social media assets to biogs, press release, etc. And you can make it look really pretty. This is taking forever to load. Yeah, so this is a marketing pack we've designed for this film. It's got a lot of information in it. It looks nice. It looks on brand. It's got everything that our partners would need. They can just download everything from here, but it looks really snazzy and sleek, and it kind of helps promote what you're offering in a really visually appealing way. I hope that was easy enough to watch, because it loaded very slowly for me. Cool. Yeah, so here's an example. So here on the right is the official IberoDocs poster, which is beautiful. And Mar, the director of IberoDocs, hired a really great graphic designer to create a suite of official assets. So the official festival poster, the official brochure, and we had some really clear official graphics for social. But obviously for day-to-day and smaller needs, using Canva and using the elements of the official design, we are able to then create, using BrandKit on Canva, a multitude of different uses. So individual Instagram posts, stories, a merchandise, A5 signage, a weekly program. So that came in really handy, so that everything looked consistent using Canva BrandKit. I do recommend having a social media planning tool if that is one of your main communication channels. It will save a lot of stress. It will save a lot of time. It will stop someone having to respond to stuff on their personal phone, or you know, being inundated with notifications, which can be really overwhelming. Meta is free. That's the inbuilt Facebook and Instagram scheduler. There's also Hootsuite and Sprout, which are sort of mid-budget, and Planable, which is £28 a month, and it's probably eye-watering. But again, it depends on your priorities and your budget. But I do recommend having one, or you can use Canva, like I just said. It helps you plan out content in advance. So you can plan everything in the planning tool, then you can hit schedule and it will go out at the right time. You don't have to be manually doing it, you know, when you're out having dinner or you're in a meeting or whatever. It also helps you kind of see the big picture. Like you can see here, this is the social media schedule for Cinetopia, when we were driving some screenings. And it just helps me see, like, do I have enough content on this day? Is there a gap? what am I talking about when, etc. You can respond to comments and DMs and engage with others all in one place instead of having to log in and out from your personal Facebook to the official film festival Facebook and vice versa. You can do everything in one place, and it also holds everything so you can refer back. It will tell you things like you haven't answered this message yet, etc. Really useful for insights. All of these social media planning tools have analytics and reporting. They will tell you what content is performing well, what is engaging your audience, what is driving traffic to your ticket sales. It will show you what isn't working very well. It shows you your audience demographics so you can see that you're reaching the right people in the right locations. And if you're not, what do you need to do? You can compare time periods so you can see how your activity this year compared to your activity last year. What's working better, what isn't. You can look at last year's festival analytics and be like, oh, people really responded well to trailers, but they weren't so hot on image galleries or whatever. Or this type of content just really engaged. People got really excited about it and shared it with their friends. So super, super useful to get a detailed understanding of what your audiences are responding to and engaging with, and what is driving a ticket sale. Some of these tools offer you a chance to see a visual layout of your plan, the way it would look on the actual platform. I mean, that's, a nice to have, but I'm a visual person, so I quite like that. And if you're working for a massive festival where you have sign-off layers, your social media plan might need to be signed off by someone above you. A lot of these tools have an inbuilt sign-off workflow. So you can put in all your content, write all your captions, have everything laid out, and your boss will get a notification to be like, you need to approve this post, or they can have feedback, etc. Again, probably more for a bigger festival or a bigger team, but useful nonetheless. And lastly, and I kind of alluded to this, like the terror of too many documents and too many folders. Having a master doc of your program and your festival all on one document that acts like your master document is super handy, because people can just copy and paste from this for a multitude of things. This is the master copy of the French Film Festival program. It was about 50 pages long, but obviously it's searchable, so you can just search for the bit you're looking for. But we had every film that we were screening on there laid out exactly as it should be in the program. It had all the information anyone could possibly need to answer any question or query, or send to the press, or input listings on a website, or create an individual piece of promotional content. It was all in one place. Super, super handy. So we had blurb about the festival, 50 words, 150 words, 300 words. We had all the program, we had all the event details. It was kept up to date, and it's a Google Doc, so whoever, we kept one person in charge of it, of doing the update, so it didn't get confusing. But anyone could access this when they needed to. And yeah, this one document helped us copy and paste from into press releases, social media posts, event listings, our website, web content, print ads. Super handy. Because I have also worked in situations where there's 20 documents you have to go ferreting about in to find what you need. So just a small hack, but useful. Yeah, always ask yourself, do we need another document? Always, or a spreadsheet. Cool. So then lastly, just you've done all this activity, you're, going gangbusters on promoting your film, it's all your film festival, it's all great. How do you measure if it's actually working? And what are you measuring? So evaluation. Everything that you learn every time you do anything is going to be useful to apply to your next festival. Obviously, learnings help you improve your planning, they help you improve your marketing. They help you attract funding, most importantly. If you can demonstrate your success and be able to show numbers and facts and figures and tangible results and feedback from people. So I do say, like, put things in place at the start, like make sure that when you're working out your plan, you make sure you plan in to have an audience survey. Make sure you, if you have someone who's really nifty at Google Analytics, that's not me, by the way, but if you do have someone on your team that's happy with that, have them set up some goals for your website, things like tracking visits to the ticket booking page or tracking visits to the program, etc. Having all that up front makes sure that you are tracking as you go. I like to do a weekly social media snapshot, just have a look at the end of every week, how things are doing, what's performing, etc. Reading the comments, reading the feedback, seeing what I can adapt or tweak. Decide what your KPI, sorry, that's a very corporate term. Decide what your goals are, for the festival right at the start. Maybe it is just ticket sales and attendance, and that's all you're trying to achieve. But maybe it's we want to attract more people under 25, or maybe it's we want to reach people in a specific region or location, or maybe we want to drive engagement around this specific director. So once you know those goals, you know what it is you're tracking. If it's reaching a specific region, you can go into your social media analytics, your web analytics, and see, yes, most of our clicks are coming from this region. Most of our audience are based in this region. Therefore, we are meeting what we set out to meet. And as always, I always say, if you don't reach the goals you set precisely, that's not a failure. There's so many millions of factors that can affect that. It's just a learning. Everything is a learning. And if you don't meet at this time, you can figure out what didn't work and then adapt it for next time. In terms of tools for evaluating success, you've got insights or analytics. They're all called slightly different things, but Facebook gives you insights for free. Instagram has detailed insights. TikTok has analytics. It will show you how many people you've reached. It will show you how many impressions you've had. That's the number of people that have seen your content. It will show you engagement statistics, likes, shares, comments. It will give you an engagement rate. Your website analytics will show you where are people finding your website from? How are they finding you? What are they Googling in order to find your website? What are they clicking on your website? What page are they visiting? What pages are they dropping off from? Are they getting to your program page and then dropping off after 2 seconds, which would indicate there might be an error on that page, or it's not laid out in a way that they find easy to read, and therefore that's a bottleneck. What can you fix? Campaign URLs. So I'm not specifically good at this, but they are very useful. If you want to track how many clicks on a newsletter link you might have, you can set up a specific URL or a specific coded link that will track that piece of activity. That's a whole other webinar, but it is possible to do that, and I will not be able to explain that perfectly. Your newsletter, if you're using MailChimp, for example, that will also show you a lot of statistics around who's reading it, who's not opening it, what are they clicking on in your newsletter, what are they not, is it not delivering to some people that it should be. Your box office reports, obviously, tell you a lot. And audience feedback surveys, obviously, these are fundamental because these are real, tangible people telling you what they love, what they didn't like, what worked, what didn't, what they want to see more of, what they attended, where they're from, their age, demographic information. So really, really vital to make sure that you are always getting feedback from your audience, whether that's through a survey, which might be part of your, you might be required to do one for funders, or you might just want to do it for yourself. So yeah, Lastly, content. So everything is content, right? Um, my one main piece of advice if you're marketing a film festival is document everything and understand that everything is content. People are interested in every single thing. I always say people actually do want to know how the sausage is made. Um, People are curious inherently, and the more you share about your festival, the behind the scenes, your team, setting things up, taking things down, um, the nuts and bolts of what's going on a day-to-day, all of that is actually really interesting to people, way more than you probably think it is. Um, it's a case of not having the fear of sharing. Um, So without further ado, just to give an example, this was for a screening of Kim's video that we did at the Cameo with Cinetopia. These are all the varieties of content that we put out in the week before. So of course we asked people to buy tickets. You know, you've got to keep repeating that, but we did all sorts. We shared videos of the original video store in New York and asked people to share their stories about video stores. We shared pictures of the directors and told their story. We shared stories about some of the celebrities who used to shop at Kim's Video. We asked people to tell us what the first video they ever rented in a video store was. We ran a swap box in person, so people could bring a DVD and take one away, but we promoted that through some like really fun visuals that were very much in the DIY spirit of the film. Um, so a real wide variety of content to go out with. For the French Film Festival, we did a lot of video, and as you can see, a lot of it was really not polished. You know, it's me with a mobile phone, but the engagement was really high. We did a video just of the brochure arriving. That was literally a video of me flicking through the brochure. We filmed good old Richard, our lovely director, introducing the first film and giving a bit of a history of the festival. We had the team share their favourite films that were part of the festival. We showed off our venues, so we did a little venue of the Dominion. We interviewed some of the directors that came. Again, really informal. It was me and a mobile phone on a tripod, edited in Reels. It was no super fancy editing, but it was that ability to be really quick and post immediately on the day and share what's going on live, got really engaged people. So yeah, everything is content. Be entertaining, post frequently, share as much information as you can. People want to hear everything, and they want to hear things often. You really cannot post too much. I know obviously time and resource play a factor, but don't be afraid to post or think that you're boring people. You're not. Um, you are really not, especially with the way the channels work now. You know, they really make it hard to reach a lot of people. So feel free to jump on stories and be like, here's what's happening at the festival today. The team are checking the program and getting a coffee and a team meeting, and everything is content. Don't be afraid to repeat yourself. People do not remember what you posted 24 hours ago. It's okay to remind people to buy a ticket 7 times. Please do. Um, there's nothing wrong with that. Don't worry about your follower numbers. All the way all social media channels operate today, they are showing your content to new people all the time. They are not showing your content necessarily to all your followers. All the channels operate in a way of reaching as many people as possible. So focus on making engaging content. Don't sweat over the number of followers you have. It's really not affecting how many people you reach. Video, video, video. In terms of order of priority of types of content, video performs really strongly. Your stories are probably the second most powerful thing you have, and feed is probably more the informational side of social media, where you would put your program, your trailers, the informational things like your sustainability credentials or commitments, etc. And don't be afraid to be spontaneous or just have fun. Like, no one's excited about being sold to, but people love to see how a festival gets made, how a festival comes together, what your team is up to, who's coming, what's going on behind the scenes. Enjoy it, try to enjoy it. And I have given you a content plan with 100 content ideas for your festival. So this is part of the freebie. Oh, it says pop-up blocked, which isn't great. Always allow pop-ups. So this is something you can take away with you. It's not letting me open. There we go. So I've created you a spreadsheet that has 100 content ideas on it. It has so many tabs. It's not loading for me, but you'll be able to take this out. Oh, here we go. So it's got a timeline tab, how to map out your festival. It's got an activity planner, which again, very slow loading. It's got a content planner if you don't want to or cannot afford to use a scheduler, and it's got your 100 content ideas. So that is yours to download and use if you wish after this. And I think I have come out. Am I still sharing my screen?
Yes, can still see your screen.
Cool. So don't try and do it all. You can't. Prioritize getting your information out there and making it easy for people to buy a ticket. Start marketing as early as you can. There is no such thing as being too early. Document everything that you do, and done is better than perfect. Just get out there. Don't let perfection get in the way of you telling the world about your festival. And that's me. 8 minutes left. And thank you. I hope that was interesting. And those are my contact details if you want to get in touch after. And I will now stop sharing.
Thank you so much, Emma. I'm going to remove the spotlight from you. Thank you. That was such a useful tour. I've taken so many notes, and I hope others have as well.
I feel like Emma, I rattled through that.
No, it was brilliant. Thank you. And as Emma pointed out, there's lots of useful links in there. So we'll circulate the slides with everyone after this. So you'll be able to peruse those great resources at your leisure. We have a couple of questions in the chat box. So yeah, we've got a couple more minutes, so feel free to drop any more that you have and we can run through them. This one's from David, who says, what do you think about profiling the programmers of the festival as well as the films as part of the marketing? They say we're working with 6 programmers, and one issue that makes it tricky is it can be difficult to have a consistent portrait style when programmers live all over the country. So asking them to send your portrait can lead to inconsistency of style or format.
I think, yes, you should absolutely profile them. I think that's really interesting to people, and also hear their thoughts on why they might have programmed something is also really interesting. In terms of consistency, if there's a way you can send them a template that they can fill out so that everyone is filling out the same thing, to make it easier for them to submit, that could help. Just giving them a format, like, please send me these 5 things. Again, this is really dependent on what people are comfortable with, but you might even just ask them all to record 30 seconds of them on their phone saying, hi, I'm so-and-so, here's a bit of my background. The favorite film I've programmed for this festival is X, and WhatsApp you that video. And you can use that in a story, you can use that as a reel. It might be a bit rough and ready, but honestly, I think people will find that approachable. People are used to that style, for example, on social. I think, or it's written, headshot and some blurb. I think it's a great idea to profile them. And even if you have inconsistency, maybe a couple of people send a written one and a couple send video, and that's fine. It's fine to mix that up. And the most important thing is that you are sharing that, and you're giving a further insight into, the why of your program, the how interesting your people and your team is. So yeah. I say, again, done is better than perfect. So I think it's just a really nice thing to do. And the format is possibly less crucial than having that information in some way.
That's great. Thank you, Emma. The other question is just a nice comment from Rachel, who says, superb, Emma, thank you so much. So
Thank you.
I don't believe we have any other questions at the moment, but as Emma mentioned, she's put her contact details on the slides, and I believe is happy for you to get in touch if you have any questions, and you can absolutely get in touch with me too if there's anything you want me to pass on. But I think for now, just say thank you so much, Emma. It's been great, and yeah, we'll circulate the video and slides with everyone after the session. And have a great rest of your day, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.